Jackson Radio Show.
All right, amigos and amigas, welcome back. Glad that you're with me. And I have an update on the monument story that I think you'll find interesting and maybe a little turnabout is fair play. I don't know. I'm certainly intrigued by this story. Well, first of all, there's two stories. Washington National Cathedral's stained glass window that honors Confederate generals Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson will be removed after a vote by the church's leaders. So we now have churches chiming in on things like that. Hey, look, do what you want. It's your church. Well, I just find it, again, this is how far we're going. How far do we go, right? The Episcopal Church Board voted overwhelmingly, but not unanimously, to remove the stained glass windows, which depict the two men at various points in their lives and portray them as saintly Christian men. Now, look, I don't know what these men have done in their lives, except I know they fought on behalf of an army that their president, Jefferson Davis, said, you guys are the ones I want to be the leaders. Doesn't mean they even love the cause. I know a little bit about Robert E. Lee, that he freed his slaves before the end of the war and really fought hard to make sure blacks had a fair shot after the fact. So you can judge him on that. I mean, I look at Robert Byrd and how the left loved this man. There's so many things named after Robert Byrd in West Virginia. It's ridiculous. Is it West Virginia or Virginia? One of them, wherever he's from. I think it's West Virginia. And it's like Byrd Road, Byrd Airport, Byrd, Sanctuary. That's a joke. But there's all kinds of things named after this member of the Ku Klux Klan, and nobody's talking about putting any of that down. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton eulogized a member of the KKK. Not a single word. Not a single word about Byrd. But now you got people digging into their, we have a stained glass window. Let's get rid of that. Oh, we have a book that mentions Jackson and Lee or whatever. We got to get rid of it. Let's get rid of the history. You would think these guys were Hitlerian. They fought a war against their brothers. A civil war. Hey, I tell you what, let's pretend the Civil War never happened. How about that? Would that make you feel better, leftist? This is ridiculous. Constantly, we're droning on about inconsequential things that make us who we are. Why would somebody be mad that we should be mad that we came to blows, which, for the record, we're in the midst of a new civil war right now. People are being killed daily over the civil war that wages in this country because leftists will not leave things alone. They are not happy that America has corrected its ills when it comes to race. So what do? They start a race war. It's going on. Most of you realize it. It isn't, you avoid it because you aren't confronting it daily. You're not around the people where the war is being built. If you lived in Compton, you lived in some of these black neighborhoods in your town, you'd know this war. You'd know it firsthand. There's enough YouTube videos out there to make you, and Twitter stuff and Instagram and Snapchats, for you to know that what I'm telling you is true. But I want to go into another part of the story that I find really funny. It was an article at the Daily Wire. A North Carolina pastor and descendant of Confederate General Robert E. Lee was removed from his position at the head of Winston-Salem's Bethany United Church of Christ after appearing on MTV's Video Music Awards to condemn his ancestor. Now, right there, that tells you all you need to know. He's condemned his ancestor. A man who fought a war, who lives now in infamy, or however you want to look at it, depends on what part of history you want to understand about General Robert E. Lee, and he's on TV condemning him. Look, you can condemn the act. You can say, I do not like that my grandfather fought on the side that was protecting slavery. However, here's what I've learned about my grandfather, my great-grandfather, whatever he is, or my ancestor. But here's what I've learned about him. And the fact that we've overcome this. And the fact that legacy was not handed down to where I hate blacks. You don't even have to look for that good. That's what we've become. Pastor Lee says that while his speech to the VMA's crowd was intended to be unifying in the wake of violence in Charlottesville, Virginia, some members of his congregation objected to his comments supporting Black Lives Matter and the Women's March. Now, he says, they removed me because I'm a descendant of Robert E. Lee. No, they didn't. They removed you because you're a leftist. You're a cancer in their church. He says that those two groups, Black Lives Matter and the Women's March, are fighting for racial equality. In the case of the Women's March, gender equality. And didn't like that Lee was bringing a media circus to the small 100-person church. He officially resigned after the congregation said they would take a vote on his tenure, and the church leaders made it clear, this is him quoting, I was no longer welcome there. He was on Morning Joe, and he was explaining why they let him go. No explanation needed. The church, look, I'm not going to tell churches how to run. I believe churches are purveyors of social thought. All right? But I don't believe that guys like him should be bringing the wrong ideas into church. The idea that America is hunting blacks, that police are hunting and killing blacks is ridiculous. The idea that the women needed a march because Donald Trump didn't respect their vaginas is ridiculous. And the church recognized it. And they're going, look, guy, we're a small town congregation. And we don't need this. I'm glad that church took a stance. Instead of succumbing to the secular social justice warrior nonsense that's being taught out there. They said this. A faction of church members were concerned about my speech and that I lifted up Black Lives Matter movement, the Women's March, and Heather Meyer as examples of racial justice work. He went on to reference the uncomfortable media attention and differing views within his congregation as a reason for his departure. Lee refused to give any more details than that, though he did issue an official apology to his flock before leaving. He did not elaborate on his comments to the MTV audience, but does say that he still supports removing monuments to the Confederacy, including statues of his great-great-great-uncle, Robert E. Lee. See, this guy, he doesn't get it. And look, I know the left, I can understand their thought process that says, that's a terrible thing what Robert E. Lee did. He fought for slavery. I can understand that on its surface. Sure. But how about we go back to the times? How about we really think it through? How about we look at it and go, so first of all, everybody didn't own slaves. And contrary to what you say, the war was not fought just about slavery. It was fought about an economic battle. It was a war between two different economies. One built on free market principles that said, you reap what you sow, but the other one built on the idea that you got free labor and we can't compete. And the consternation was the only way we could compete is if we bow down to your philosophy of making people chattel. And we bow down to slavery. And we're not going to do that. We know that's inherently wrong. Now, you can intermix those. Well, that was fought over slavery. Yeah, it was. But it was fought over the idea of commerce. That one group of people were going, look, man, you got free labor. And the Southerners were arguing, well, it's not really free. I mean, we paid for them. And we got to feed them and take care of them and everything. And well, that may be true, but hold on a minute. But still, it's a lot cheaper than we having to go out and hire a bunch of white folks to do the same thing. Yeah, well, hey, you got your problems. But that's where the rift came in. And by the way, it wasn't that the Northerners were all, well, we really care about black people and we don't want to see black people as slaves. Yes, there was a faction of Northerners that saw slavery for the evil that it is. But there were a bunch of them that didn't. They couldn't care less. If it had been Chinamen, they would have been saying the same thing. Well, look, I understand you got your Chinamen. They didn't care about the people. They cared about their pocketbooks. So the Northerners take the high road. We fought against slavery. No, you didn't. You fought against unfair trade. But they don't want to do it when it comes to China today or the Mexico today or Canada with respect to NAFTA. But they'll fight you tooth and nail to bring over illegals. Do you see the contradictions here, people? Wow. Short break.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.